Just got one more and I'm good.
There's honor in death.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Devstreams. This time we are covering our next collection event. There's been a lot going on with this season. This is our first kind of big new stuff that we have coming out for this season. It's called the Genesis Collection event. Now this operates very similar to the ones we've had in the past. We got a reward track, lots of items for you to unlock, a brand new heirloom, which we're going to be talking about in a second. But first, let's introduce our short and sweet squad that we have with us today. First up, Jason McCord.
Hi, Jay. I am short and sweet. Thank you for the introduction.
And of course, coming back, for those of you who haven't watched this in a while, one of our OGs of the Devstreams. Super excited to have him join us, our animator, Moy Parra. Welcome, Moy.
Hey, Moy Parra. Good to be back. Principal Animator at Respawn. And I haven't been here in a long time, and thanks for the invite. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know we love talking about animation. Principal Animator now.
Principal Animator, which sounds cooler than it actually is, but
It sounds cool. It sounds very cool.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Legit, right? It sounds official.
Well deserved, Moy, for sure. Yes. All right, I think first and foremost, McCord, one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on for this is the map takeovers that we're going to be doing for Genesis. And it's really exciting because I think this is something players are going to been asking for and are going to like. And I could not think of a better person to break down for us what is this takeover that's going to be happening during the collection event.
The takeover is called Legacy Maps. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. But it's basically we're just taking over the map rotation with the original versions of Kings Canyon and World's Edge. So season 0, Kings Canyon, before we even launched Octane. And then season 3, World's Edge, with the train and everything. So the old lighting that everybody wants back, all that. So
Skulltown. I mean,
Skulltown. There's going to be the hot.
What are some of the points of interest that players are going to be able to go back to? I think for some of us, we don't realize how long it's been for some of these really iconic spots. What are some of the ones that we're going to be seeing coming? Skulltown, obviously, number one, right, for one of the big ones.
Yeah, I was writing the patch notes today, and I was like, okay, Skulltown, Thunderdome, right? They're connected. Those are two that are pretty hot. And then I got into Cascades went away really quickly, but that one was super dense and crazy down there in the bottom of the river. Bridges is I was writing something in the patch notes bring your new Apex friends and show them the terror of rotating through bridges in the middle of the map, in the middle of a match. And you remember over there where Capacitor has there was the Shattered Forest. It was the whole burnt, sort of muddy forest and wetlands and relay, all, those sort of smaller POIs in the side of the map over there. A lot of cool stuff. And I've always been really excited to do this. I've been wanting to bring these maps back for so long because there's millions of players that have never played these maps. And as we've been updating them and changing all these POIs, I've been thinking okay, the map is almost, not quite, but almost getting to a point where the whole thing has changed.
Right.
And so this being something that can come on for 2 weeks, it's almost like a new map for a lot of people to learn. A lot of the paths are still there, a lot of the choke points and how you navigate through the map is in a lot of ways still the same. But then the gameplay inside of them are different in so many places.
Yeah, I've thought about that from a new fan. It's almost like the biggest map dates you've ever experienced. Right. Because you've played all the work the designers have done over the last 2 years, and now you can see where we started in the first place as the foundation. How are the rotations going to work when it goes live?
We're just gonna be those two maps, and every hour they're gonna rotate in regular trios and duos. So we'll leave rank on Olympus like it's planned. Just for the whole 2 weeks, it'll be those two original maps.
What are some of the things you guys as designers have sort of learned and taken away from the iteration that's happening? What's that experience been like for you guys?
Whew. I mean, we're always learning about what we think is right, and then we make some stuff, and then we play it, and then we learn some more, and then we try to make something else that we think is right, and it just constantly evolves. And I always think the key with the first person shooter is the maps are largely there for variety. Like we have to know why they're good and how they play into the core loop of the game, and all that stuff has to be figured out. And designers are doing, they're always talking about why things are good and what they want to do next. But also, it just the situation has to change constantly, right? Like if you're playing like a TDM game, there's maps. Like that's the variety change, right? So when we're making these big maps that take a year and a half to make, every one that we make, we want to make sure is bring something new to the table, and but still sort of tries to be distinctly Apex in some of the ways that we think are important with the way we design our POIs to hopefully to have lots of personality and hopefully be really just fun to play in by themselves. But then also when you rotate through, you're looking at how the paths that the map takes, and which choke point do you want to try and approach based off of what you hear, what you know about where people landed, how it is to fight through these choke points and stuff. So sort of a map mastery thing that goes into the way that the pathing is planned too. So
after like Kings Canyon, as we started like World's Edge, and then Olympus and World's Edge, are you designing with the thought of map changes in town takeovers and future things? Or you're like, let's just focus on making this good and then we'll build off of that? Or are you already thinking of like the other updates that you're going to make and kind of incorporating that sort of thought process into the base map when you're building it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has ideas while we're working on the thing, right? Everyone's like, oh, maybe later, sometime down the line, we can do this cool idea that they have. But generally, a map is just so much effort that everyone is just really focused on making that first thing good. We used to get into this, when we only had Kings Canyon at first. Season 2, we needed to do a map update, and we just had. So I was working on that in probably pre-launch of the whole game, right? So I didn't know what to I didn't know what to tackle. I didn't know what besides just our own playtests and sort of what I felt I would change, and what the designers and what everybody thought they would want to see different. And you're kind of making these blind assumptions of what you think is the right thing to put a ton of work into again, which is really scary. And then when we released World's Edge, again, season 3 World's Edge launched, and then we go, okay, well, we only have 2 maps, and we just came from Kings Canyon, so we're gonna go season 4. We're gonna go back to World's Edge, but we have to start working on it before World's Edge even launched. We have to start working on season 4. Mm-hmm. So we don't really know what to change. We don't know what the community wants us to change.
Right.
Now we're in a better position where we've got more maps. So, we saw Olympus come out in season 7, and we thought about doing map update for Olympus in season 8, but we just thought, why don't we take a beat, let the community talk about it, let us figure out what we like about it. We'll go back to Kings Canyon for season 8, and then we'll come back to Olympus for season 9. So that's been a really good benefit for us to kind of actually adjust the map based off of what the community thinks instead of just kind of what our gut is,
We got Skulltown for a bit, guys. Like, that's going to be so fun
in arenas.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. That leads perfectly into, we have some arenas updates that are happening with this update too, right?
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of arenas, a bunch of tweaks to the economy, and certain tweaks to the way that the mode is played, and they're kind of nitty gritty. So you should definitely look at them in the patch notes. Prices of weapons and stuff, just sort of balancing those things out. We added a scoreboard to the map screen, which was really awesome, just so you can kind of check and see how many kills you and your team has and the other team has. You can also use that to report people on the other team if you get into that sort of situation. It feels like as soon as we announced arenas, it doesn't even feel like it. It was definitely the case. The second we announced arenas, people were like, Skulltown, hello, obviously. I mean, we knew we had to bring it back. And the whole like Legacy Genesis theme was just so perfect to say like, okay, let's go back to something sort of the fundamental early Apex combat space, right? The original hot zone.
Yep. So Skulltown, as just like its own arenas map, will now be part of the rotation in arena.
Yeah. We're gonna turn it on for an hour in the rotation. So the rotation will still rotate through the maps. The other maps will still stay on 15-minute rotations. Because like I said, variety is key, right? Like you want Skulltown, but you don't want to play it all day.
Yep.
So you'll get an hour each time Skulltown comes around, and really in arena's time, that's like maybe 3 or 4 matches, and then you'll go play the rest of them. And
That's
so
awesome.
that Skulltown will be in the rotation for the duration of the event.
Well, McCord, thank you, man. It's always fun just to talk shop with you guys, like, and hearing your little thought processes as you guys think of maps, and also, man, just like, I think it's just really cool. This original thing that we made a long time ago gets to come back and have some love for old fans, but also new ones. I think both are going to appreciate it. So very, very, very exciting. With this collection event and all the things that comes with it and all the stuff players can earn, we're introducing a new heirloom, as we always do. This one's wild. And so Moy, I had to bring you on for this because, like, we were saying it earlier, like, we've come a long way since the kunai. You know what I'm saying? Like, every single time we introduce a new heirloom, like, you guys are just like bringing it again up the bar. Like, it's just nuts. And it gets like really exciting to see them. So I'm gonna let you introduce our next heirloom weapon. That is item that's coming into the collection event. So what is it, Moy?
Yeah, so this time it's going to be Revenant's heirloom, and it's called Dead Man's Curve, but we just call it, Revenant's Scythe. Whatever works. It's always a game of trying to one up what's been in the past. It's like it's not something that's spoken. It's more like a secret between animators, but it's kind of there. You always want to be one upping yourself. And it's just interesting to see how far we've come from the first one, which was, Wraith's Kunai, which I actually have a little prop right here. So, we went from this, and then I came prepared for this. Then we have the Raven's Bite, and then I don't have anything else.
Do
right? But
all
if
of
we
them.
ever, I have both right here. But
I was
if we
waiting
ever
for
make a toy,
gloves next, and
yeah, I'll pull those off next. If we ever make a toy of Revenant's heirloom, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
This thing is scary looking. It's awesome. I think the art department and the effects department, they always kill it. They collaborate so much with animation, and this one is just so on theme for Revenant that it just when you do the first draw and when you equip that thing, you just feel like you are ready to go after someone, take them down. You become death. You're running around with this thing, and you're ready to just take down people. It's awesome. It's really, really awesome.
So I noticed, like, in a lot of cases, especially for the more like handheld items, there is a lot of like real life reference that you guys are pulling from, whether it's yourselves animating things, or I think of like Octanes with the butterfly knife like moves and everything, right? And having like working with a drummer to film him like moving the drumsticks, to get something authentic there. Did you guys do anything like that? Because this thing is like a giant folding scythe. Like, was there any sort of that reference that went into play for this?
Well, so this is the cool thing that happened. There's a few cool things here. One is that this heirloom is the work of one of our newest animators, Alan.
Awesome.
And that is extra exciting in itself because it's someone very new, but that is releasing something super cool, and I can't wait for that. So I'm not sure what he used as his prop, but something that I do know is when we were shooting mocap for some of the runs that Revenant does, there was a big old prop that was constructed for Sean, our lead animator, to be able to perform and kind of get in character. You look at this thing, and the last thing that you could think is that this is menacing whatsoever, right? But Sean takes this, and all of a sudden he starts growling and running around, and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And animation is a lot of imagination, so you take whatever helps get into character is usually helpful. And I'm amazed at how much animators are able to, myself, I guess, how much we are able to push some of these things and just let the animation juices flow and come up with something cool that people are going to enjoy. And I know they're going to enjoy this one. It's awesome. Like the day or 2 days before these things release, it's like a panic moment of like, I hope people like it. And then you have like heart palpitations, but then it goes live. And I personally, is when I'm the least productive is when we release something, because I can't stop watching people's reactions.
Yeah.
So when we release an heirloom or a new emote or a new whatever, it is that first joy that people use these animations that we've gotten so accustomed to, that it's just such a huge payoff, right? So they make these compilations, or they make these, hey, come check out this heirloom, or come check out this new emote, and I can't stop watching them because it's just like fuel to keep going. When something goes live, when we release something, I gotta say, animation overall, I think gets a lot of love from the community.
Things like, pretty art and pretty animations, right? Those are pretty easy wins for people to like. Even if I'm not enjoying something, it's like pretty easy to latch onto that. Like, that's really cool. Where design is a much more tough thing to talk about, right? You're anticipating what players are going to do. People are going to play the game differently, and you have to anticipate that. And I think design also too is like communicating the intent and all that stuff. It's a challenge. It's hard to do, right, for players to understand like what were designers trying to do here. And that's why McCord has to be on the dev streams all the time, and you guys just have to show up every like 3 months to just be like, look at this cool stuff we made. And McCord's like, all right, this we did this thing, and this is why we did it, guys.
Exactly.
McCord's got to have like the real talk conversation like with our players and everything for sure. Hey, really appreciate you both coming on with your busy schedules. Like I said, with, feeling very nostalgic for this Genesis Collection event. So it felt just right to have a couple of the OGs on to talk about that. For all of you at home, as you may have noticed, this is embedded right here with the patch notes. So there is a patch that is coming along with this. We've got some bug fixes. We've got some tweaks that are happening to some of the legends. McCord, I know you had one thing that we liked that we wanted to call out.
Yeah, I thought that, looking at the patch notes, the one thing that I thought was exciting, I guess. The most exciting part was a buff to Revenant's Climb. Mm-hmm. Lots of people have been asking for that for a long time. I don't think it's infinite, but it's very high. You can get to the tops of buildings in World's Edge. It does sound like, one of our designers said, it sounds like a toolbox climbing a building, so it's not quiet, but that's probably best, again, for the gameplay.
It's going to be a lot of fun, for sure. Well, make sure, folks, if you're here on our article, the patch notes are right here for you to read. If not, you're here on YouTube, we got a link for you right there in the description to go click and read through the notes of the other changes that are coming with this event. But just go out there, have fun. We cannot wait to see people playing OG Kings Canyon, OG World's Edge. It's going to be super cool. To Moy's point, we probably won't get a lot of work done that day because we're going to be watching your streams and reactions to all of the stuff, because that's why we do it, guys, because we just love making cool stuff for all of you. Moy, McCord, thank you again, fellas. You're legends.
The invite.
We'll see you. We'll see you on the next one for sure. Moy, we'll see you in like 3 months, man, for the next Heirloom. It'll be great.
I know. Anytime.
Thanks, everybody.